This concerns two old friends of mine, Brian and Stan, because when we went hitchhiking, invariably it was in groups of two. Except, I have to mention, there was this boy called Neville who used to sell the Daily Worker, the old communist newspaper, outside Whitechapel Station. So when we decided to go hitchhiking, or Yogi sent us hitchhiking, Neville's idea was to hitchhike to Russia. This was a 2-night hitchhike, and he's telling us he's going to Russia. So we wished him luck and waved him off. But meanwhile, in general terms, off we went in twos. Now, hitchhiking was something we'd never done in England. Virtually all of the boys had never been abroad anyway. But in Switzerland, we're hitchhiking. Brian and Stan are hitchhiking quite happily, and people did stop for you in those days. But it was getting dark, and they could not find anywhere to stay. And along came a moped. Chuck, 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 chuck. They thumbed the moped down. Why? Don't ask me why. He stopped, and they're saying they're looking for somewhere to sleep. Does he know a hotel nearby? They're speaking in English. This man, I have no idea what nationality, probably Swiss, in broken English said to them, "No hotel here. You can stay with me in my house." Brian thinks to himself, well, how can we get there? He said, "I will take one of you," he said, "take you to my house, and then I will come back and take the other one to my house." Brian thinks, I'm not going to get on this man's bike. He could be a lunatic. Stan, you get on the bike. Stan gets on the back of the moped, and Brian waves them off. Chuck, 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 chuck. Off they go in the distance. Brian's thinking to himself, well, that's the last I'll ever see of Stan. And he starts walking along the road. It's now dark. Literally 10, 15 minutes later, chuck, 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 moped appears. And he's saying to Brian, "I've got your friend in my house, I'll take you." Brian thinks, should I get on or run away? But he goes, oh, I'll get on. Yeah, on the bike, chuck, 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 pulls up at a lovely house. He goes inside, there's Stan sitting down, and this woman's made him a meal. Brian sits down and she makes him a meal, and they're talking, well, very little, because they were broken English. They made a meal for them. They made up armchairs, they made beds for them, and they went to bed and stayed the night. The next morning they get up and they think, we're still not happy about this. So next morning, round about 5:30 to 6, they both get up, get dressed, creep out of the house and run away. Neville, who was aiming for Russia, much to our enjoyment, he returned after 2 nights, or maybe 3 nights he was away, and Yogi was considering notifying the police when he turned up, and when we asked him how far he'd got, I cannot remember, but I do know he got quite a distance into Germany when realised he was not going to make it to Russia and came back. But in hitchhiking, I have to say, people got as far as Italy. We got to Austria. We saw the Duke of Luxembourg, and we went into Austria. People went tremendous distances in 2 nights. It was incredible. But also there was one couple of lads, all they succeeded in doing was hitchhiking round Lake Thun, and they got back the same evening.